We need one more? Do we need?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Okay,
6.
6, okay.
Somebody said she's here.
Alderman Boyd,
Present.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Tyus,
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy, Alderman Kotar,
Here.
Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Present.
President Reed.
Here.
6 present, you have 4.
All right.
Oh, 6. I thought they said 7.
We go down, whatever.
I have to, just so you know, I do have to leave by, I'd say at the very latest 10 after, because it's Port Council today.
Till after 11?
Yeah, it's Port Council meeting today.
Okay.
We can move pretty fast.
Okay.
I know it's a lot of material that was sent out, but these are the actual points that we really need to discuss and hopefully make some decisions upon. That's a part of here to be. There's not that many points that need to be actually addressed here today. There are 2 sets of minutes that we've never approved, Mr. President.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
If we could do that, that would
Yes.
be good.
Do we go into closed session?
Yes.
Stay open.
Alderman from the 22nd, do you want to make the motion for the approval of the
I
minutes?
move to approve the minutes dated June 20th and July 11th, 2019.
Then move, entertain a second on that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Alderman from the
23rd.
23rd. I'm sorry, I'm reading it down the same time. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Tyus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy, Alderman Kotar,
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
6 aye votes.
And if I do have to leave,
Those
those are
staying the
vote.
motion, I'm going to dispense with line items 5 and 6. And Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. President. 2 parts of the meeting. One, the latter part of this meeting, which won't take long, will be the closed session. Some of us not confused. This portion does not require to be closed that we're going to talk about right now. In your packet is the 6-month report from the clerk. Back in June 20th, issued to this committee for your review a overall clerk operational development plan for the board. This is a 6-month report on that. It has been 6 months since I've been the clerk. 6 whole months. That's going pretty fast. There are a number of things that have happened and changed. All that is outlined in the report that you see. It's not my plan to go through all those details. However, I do want to give some of those high points. One is that the staff worked very hard in putting together a draft handbook, employee handbook. It's really the first time for the board, and a document, a record retention policy and destruction policy. That too the staff worked on, as well as all the staff was involved over the summer in helping to clean out the archives room over on the other side and get new shelving and to reorder all that stuff. Some of you saw the boxes, about 470 boxes that we moved
Is that all the stuff that was in the...
that was in the room. That's what that was. We moved all that out and then put in new metal shelving that can be changed and then moved the boxes back in. We were happy to have an intern, April 4 Griffin's son. We worked a mess out of him over the summer. But he was eager to do it. We also began the process of taking the old resolutions. What we found is that there are a lot of records that the board hid, one, that were not ordered, but 2 are no place else other than with the Board of Aldermen. So even though technically you could get rid of it, we didn't want to do that. We want to be able to scan it and have it electronically for future boards to be able to have reference for. On the present website, the city only goes back to 1991 in terms of board bills and ordinances. But there are some documents that go beyond that, and we would like to scan that and have that electronically. I think it would help both the board and the public to be able to access that kind of information. I know as an alder person, when you're trying to write some legislation, it's always good to know the history, and there's no one place to get it. But at the same time, this board is responsible for having what's called a record retention and destruction policy that is required by the state that it does not have. So you have a draft proposal there as well. The other item that we that's related to the operational development plan or the job descriptions. The staff was involved in rewriting the job descriptions to better reflect the actual work that they do, as well as to make them all consistent. The past job descriptions apparently were written by different people, and they all had different styles. So we tried to make them consistent with the same portions. You have all the job descriptions from the clerk all the way to the aide. We have administrative aide, and we have the other aide that Terrence was. And then there are 2 new positions that we're recommending, and that is an IT person and then a recorder archivist. Legislative bodies are responsible for archiving their own information, and they need to have access to it, but we have no person that is responsible. The clerk is responsible as the maintainer of the archives, but to actually keep the archives, have them arranged in an order that can be easily accessed, the board didn't have staff to do it, and so the idea was to separate some positions and make another. The money is already in the budget for this, so it's no new budget items we have to have. So what we're looking to see if there's any input presently on the handbook and retention policy that was sent out back in September. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at it and maybe have some input and some other ideas. At some point, we need to adopt it as soon as we can. I can tell you it has helped in terms of the audit that the board was going through, because the board is not civil service. And when you're not civil service, you need to have clear employee policies. And the fact that we had begun this and had a version of it ready to come before this committee helped the auditors feel better about this board not being civil service. So those are the things before. So first of all, I want to go back to a point here on the sheet that talks about the accrued vacation time. This is a critical point. What it is that presently the staff of the board, which is not civil service, this board can make its determination as to how the staff accrues its vacation time. The rules of the board, there's a packet, a document in this packet that outlines both the problem and the recommendation. The background is that the Board of Aldermen accrued time. This says Personnel Committee accrued vacation time. We were asked the question with the auditors, which was a valid question, when did the board make its decision, and how did it make its decision for the staff to accrue its vacation time? Because the board is not civil service. Well, we looked
long ago.
when we looked in the ordinances, there are no records of committee meetings until we started the minutes this session. So we knew we couldn't find it there. So we tried, we called the personnel department. Linda down there says she's been here since 60-something. She says it's been like this as long as she's been here, but that's not the answer we were looking for.
Yeah.
We were looking for a very clear something. It's difficult to find. So we haven't found it so far. We've even gone back in the ordinances, and the ordinances were back to 1984. The problem is that there is more, even in the civil service, there's more than one vacation accrual schedule. It's based upon your classification as an employee with the city. They're scheduled 2A, 2B, 2C, 2E, A, B, C, D, E, like that. And you were the sponsor of the last pay bill, so you do understand it. However, the board is not civil service. So the recommendation, one other point, the board rule says that when it comes to the accrual of vacation, that the staff should be comparable with the rest of the city. Well, it's 5 different schedules for the city. So which one does it go by? We're recommending the schedule A, 2A, and 2B, which the board is presently using. The recommendation, though, is that we take a vote here to adopt that schedule, and every time the pay bill is renewed,
It's
the board
automatic.
renews that as well. So you build a verifiable archive
And a
in the
record, yeah.
and a record. That is the recommendation at the end of this document here. I tried to outline the problem, the background. I showed that section on vacation. Even the various city departments are confused about it, because comptroller's office was saying something different than personnel, but they all know the board makes its own decision.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that we can come out of this meeting with at least that portion.
Should we
Determined.
take that up Are you okay with us taking that up now? or-
Yes.
Okay. Let's go on any discussion. Can I take a roll call?
It's outlined in this part, including the recommendation, which are on the back.
Alderman Boyd, any questions?
Yeah, I do. I think dealing with accrued vacation time, all that makes sense, but I'm concerned also about pay raises. Is because.
That's in the closed section.
Okay,
Closed session.
all right, but we will be dealing with
We will be
that.
talking about it.
Okay, all right. No further questions.
Alderman Vaquero,
No questions.
Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Tyus.
Yes, so we are currently using 2A and 2B, which is, you accrue a lot more vacation time
You do.
than 2C. 2C you got from another section in one of the other departments.
If I could just mention this, too, the further back you go, the less schedules there are. We're back to 84. It seems like there's only 2A and 2B.
Right.
It is possible there was really only one at some point that the board adopted, but there's no record of it.
Okay, so, okay, that's the question. So we're gonna vote on 2A or 2B.
That was the recommendation.
Okay, and we're already using it. Okay.
Alderman Coulter.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm understanding, following up on Alderwoman Tyus' question there. So if I'm looking at the first page, page 1.
Right.
You've got the pay established in section 2A, 2B.
Correct.
These accrual rates, are those hours per, what, bi-weekly accrual rates, like 5? So if you're 1 to 5.
Those are hours.
Those are hours. So every 2 weeks, I'm accruing 5 hours of vacation?
That's what it amounts.
Okay. I want to make sure I understood that.
Right.
And why, pardon my ignorance, but you've got 2A or 2B, are those the same? Why are there two separate categories?
This is a civil service
Okay.
Right.
ordinance that the board passed. So these are two different classifications in terms of job type.
But they have the same
They
accrual
accrue the
rates?
same vacation.
All right, got it. Thank you. That's all I have.
This is the sponsor of the last.
So.
Right.
had
Well,
to-
I remember sitting on the pay
spent 4
bill.
or 5 hours,
Yes, yes.
6 hours, 8 hours to learn this.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
I have no questions.
Any further questions? Anybody else, any further questions? Alderman Boyd, you had a question about the pay. Would you like this to hold over until we do the pay? Are you ready to do
No.
that? Well, I'll entertain a motion from
I'll
anybody.
make a motion that we pass out, I guess it's A and B on the retention,
It's been moved by the Alderman.
Vacation accrual
vacation accrual.
It's been moved by the
that you
Alderman.
adopted. Not that you passed out, that you
That
adopted.
we adopted.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Okay.
it's been moved by the Alderman from the 23rd. Entertain a second on that motion.
Second.
Second by Alderman from the 22nd, that we adopt the vacation accrual schedule as presented by the clerk in the document dated October 22nd, 2019, 10:30 a.m.
Yes, sir.
That's today's meeting.
That's today's meeting.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Tyus,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy, Alderman Kotar,
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
7 ayes votes.
Second vote, sustain the motion. Alderman from the 23rd. Next item.
If there was, in terms of the open session, if there's any, input or thoughts about the handbook and retention policy,
Alderwoman.
I just, so now that we've adopted this will go in our employees booklet?
yes.
Okay.
It will.
Any further questions? Any further questions? You ready to go into closed session?
Do we have something?
Anything else?
The job descriptions, were there any questions about, all the job descriptions have been redone? Just any input on those?
Where?
They should be the last portion. It starts off with clerk.
Clerk. This one.
I'll find, here it is. Got it, thank you.
I know it's a lot of paper.
Job description.
It's just to get your input if you had any thoughts on it.
No, I got it.
Alderman Tyus.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I have questions about, so how did we come up with these descriptions? Did you have each of the employees write up what they did and then you sat down with them, or how, can you tell us a
Well,
little
what we
bit
did,
about
the
the process?
process was is that, I sent out what the board had on record as the various job descriptions to each one. First of all, we had a staff meeting we talked about. Then secondly, we sent out what they had for each one. They all looked at it, wrote up what they felt better reflected what they had, and sent that back. And then we combined it, and we sent it back out for everybody's final review. So that's how we did it.
Did you work with personnel at all?
You know, I called them, and oftentimes with the board, they just take a hands-off
Okay.
position and say the board does whatever it wants. I actually asked them if they would do a review of the board's job descriptions and staff in relationship to civil service.
Right.
And they said they would, but I need to get an official okay from,
From who?
they said the president to do so.
That is not true.
I know. And I didn't struggle with him at
Right.
the time. It was still pretty early on in my tenure here.
Right.
And so I was still trying to get a better
Right.
feel of everything.
And
I was
I
gonna bring
might
that
just
later.
suggest that, take it through the, our committee should be able to just send that out, right, and say we want to review that. I don't think you have to get an okay from the president to ask them. to-
I have found throughout the city, since the board has not had a clerk, just a clerk, that as new people have come in, they don't understand the relationship to the clerk, to the board.
So
and all that.
everything goes through the president? Right.
Yeah, and
right.
they're getting a better feel for that
Okay.
because the clerk is not rolling with it.
Okay. All right.
understand.
I don't, well, my opinion, you do not have to go through that. You should just be able to ask them to do it, and they should do it.
But I was going to bring it up at another time
Okay.
to more fully discuss that. I think it would be beneficial for the board to get a comparison between pay scales, job descriptions, categories, and classifications of the board staff in relationship to what they have in civil service. And they were willing to do that. It would at least inform the committee.
Exactly.
In case there are upgrades that need to be made or anything. That's,
So also, online, all these job descriptions here, there's something that's, actually, most of these have the same title that are online. And they have the salary range on there too. So even if they don't want to do it, the information is there, who can
is
use
there to do it.
Yeah.
I just had a question about a minor detail. On the administrative assistant, specific duties specifically says supervise a staff of 6 secretaries, 1 receptionist, and 1 administrative aide. Was there any particular reason why you need to put how many?
No, it isn't. We would.
Because you could be 4 secretaries.
It could be.
It could be 8.
It could be. That was reflective of what the administrative aide sent. And we know that there still needs to be some refinement with these. So if you feel we just need to make it open, we can do so.
It just seemed like it was generic, that would cover you, because like, so if somebody comes in, they say, well, I took this job, I was supposed to only have 6 secretaries, and I
Yeah,
got
it's-
8, you know.
If I can just, when we sent this out to the staff to get their input, their stuff was real detailed when it came back, you know, almost like get a pencil every day, that kind of business. So we
Right.
tried to make it more general. Your very point, that's one that got biased.
Can I add something? Though, the reason why sometimes you're specific, and it may not have to just say 6, it could say 6 to 8, because as you start to have to supervise more people, you get more money, okay? So we do need to have some kind of quantitative method. It doesn't have to be exactly 6, it could be 6 to 8 or 4 to 10 or something, but at some point, then you're supervising more people. People tend to get more money.
I just,
Okay.
this just looks for fluid.
Right, but I'm saying 6 to 8 or
Yeah,
something
that
like
makes
that, right?
sense.
We can have another specific meeting just to deal with this, with the job descriptions, you know, for more in depth. At some point, though, we need to discuss about the advertising of the new positions. Maybe we can have another meeting in 2 weeks or so.
That's good.
Then if that's the case, that's all we have for the open portion of the meeting. Do we need to go in closed session for the rest of it?
I have, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna, so, we took a vote on accrual vacation time. We took a vote on employee handbook?
We did not take a vote on the handbook and the record retention policy.
You wanna hold off on that? mean, I'm fine with the handbook personally. I didn't hear anybody having any questions about it, and I just wasn't sure if we needed to adopt it.
We do. I would like for it to be adopted. Makes it more efficient.
And then I'll make a motion.
Can I, please, okay. So I haven't finished reading it. This was a lot of material, so and I read everything, you know I do, but I haven't had time. I can't vote on this right now, and I also would like to see it with, added, what we just added to it, which is why I thought you were doing that, okay?
Not a problem.
Right, I'm just not prepared. I've been going through it and looking at it. I have a dog-eared copy at home. So if we could wait till the next meeting, I would appreciate it.
What about the retention, document retention, the record retention policy?
I have a question about that one. Okay. So, we have all those booklets
Yes.
that's in them, and they actually they're the old journals for the board. They go back way, I use them still, okay?
We use them too.
Okay. Now, are they also down in the registrar's office?
They are.
Okay. So the documents that you said we had back in the rolling files is what I call them. Were they different than what was in?
Well, what are back there are the votes in the various committee meetings, the tally sheets, the roll
Okay.
calls and stuff that are not, those books are primarily the ordinances and
Right.
related.
Sometimes maps and
attachments.
things like that, right, okay.
That's all those
Right.
are. Now, there is a book back there for the journal, but the journal is only carrying the minutes of the Friday meetings. All the other information is in those boxes on the other side.
Okay, and so
Now,
it is.
we did find some information that the Missouri Historical Library has, and the retention, document retention office for the comptroller's office. They have some documents. I haven't had a chance to go out and visit them yet, but we're going there as well.
But in the journals, they record, if you have a roll call vote, that is recorded in the journal
Correct,
itself.
for the Friday meeting.
Right, but not for the committee
Not the
meeting.
committees at all.
Because we didn't hire them to cover that, or that's not part of our agreement, because we pay for the journal, right?
So it's nothing, none of that is recorded in any kind,
Okay.
other than in those tally sheets, in those boxes.
Is there a way that, and just looking at a shortcut, is there a way that we could get the journal to cover committees and the votes?
We could ask.
Okay, maybe
We could add.
we pay them a little bit more, and maybe they do that so that we have that instead of you having to do extra work.
Well, yes, yeah.
No.
Other than the tally sheets, there was nothing else kept of the meetings, of
Okay,
committee
but I'm
meetings.
saying going forward.
That's a possibility.
Okay, I know.
Well, our thought is to have it uploaded online, that's one thing.
Okay,
So that'd be one place it's published. And then, but we can also speak to
but
that.
uploaded online is not a permanent record like the journal. And so since we went to a couple of years ago saying that we would be covering committee hearings, then to me, we should be seeking information from the journal if they could then cover that the same way that they do with the members of the board, because we take those things now, so they wouldn't even have to be here. And I don't know, how do they get our records for the journal itself? I'm not familiar about
The clerk.
for the Friday.
Yeah, the
For the
clerk,
Friday.
assistant, we write the minutes.
Oh, okay, and then they use
send
it.
it back to them.
And then
Send it to them.
So couldn't we just do that with the committee meetings now?
It's a possibility, we'll see.
Okay.
We can check.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, so we're not gonna take a vote on the employee handbook. Record retention, you've had some discussion. Do you feel comfortable in voting for that?
Do what? About the committee?
Yes, the committee.
I read that.
Could I, question?
Sure.
Terry, this record retention policy, do we base this off of an existing policy somewhere? Is there a model? Is it sort of a?
As I said, the
model we
stat,
use?
yes, there is a model.
Okay.
The state has a statute, we followed the statute.
All right.
You'll see that in there. All of this has also had the review, including the handbook, the review of our legal counsel that was very much involved in writing them. The legal counsel had written a retention policy before, and so we used his expertise as well.
Good. All right.
We are interactive staff here.
Perfect.
Quick question. I noticed it's dated August 2018, so,
That's their recent statute, most recent.
okay, going by, okay.
That's the state statute.
Got you.
So what we say is we know there were some very specific things to the city of St. Louis, so we tried to cover those things in the front part. Everything else that's not covered, we said is covered by the state statute.
Okay.
And then I attached the state
That's what
statute
these-
to it.
got it.
Correct.
Okay.
The state schedule. So typically you have the retention policy, And then attached to the policy is the actual schedule of when you get rid of stuff.
Okay.
And as they would update it, you would
We would
update it.
attach that as well. But the state does require legislative bodies to have it,
Yes, they do.
and the board does not have one.
I'll make a motion to adopt the record retention policy.
I'll second it, and I'll ask for a previous roll.
Who's chairing this?
Whether she knew it or not.
She do it.
Yeah, so it's been moved in second to adopt the retention policy, and we've had previous roll call. Hearing no objection, it's been moved and passed.
That completes all the agenda items we have for the open session.
Can I just ask one more question? So you're getting rid of the legal research person?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm disappointed in that. I've been waiting for one, but okay.
Yes, ma'am. The need, yes. I can discuss it a little bit further. I don't want to take a long time.
No, we can discuss it separately. I don't need to take up all the time.
Because we're going to come back to the job descriptions also.
Okay, we'll come back to those. Thank you.
We did not pass these, right? The job
We
descriptions
did
were
not.
saved, okay.
We did not, so please save them.
Okay,
Save these copies.
all righty. So now we're going to go into closed session.
Into closed session.
Do I hear a motion to go into closed session?
I move that we enter into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.
Second.
Okay.
Previous roll.
Been moved in second, previous roll accepted. And now we're going into closed session.
We need to let them know to stop.
So we're back in open session, and is there any other discussion before we close? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Terry and Sharita. Very informative.